Hello, Dream Academy, my favorite students in the whole wide world. All right, for our next art project, we are going to make fused glass nightlights. All right, so first off, this is the base of the nightlight that everybody is going to get. And you'll see it has their typical little nightlight that turns on and off. And then you have this little clippy clip that has a flat surface right here. And that is going to get fused to your, or it's not going to get fused, it's going to get glued to your piece of glass once you make your fused glass artwork. That and it'll look something like this, but it's going to be really colorful. But I wanted to introduce you and show you to some of the tools and the glass and so on, so that you guys know how fused glass is made. So first off, this is a piece of glass that I've already used for other projects. That's going to be our base piece. That means it's going to go underneath the other colored pieces of glass that we're going to put on top. This is not just your ordinary, average, regular old glass. This is Frankie, my art partner up here. This is system 98 glass, which means it has a coefficient of expansion, a COE of 98. COE means that when you use glass to fuse together, and fuse means to stick together or to melt together, it all has to be matching in its COE. It all has to have a COE of 98 or a common COE of another color. What that means is when it gets heated up in the kiln, which is like a giant oven, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute, it's going to get heated up to about 1500 degrees, and the glass is going to turn into red hot lava. All right, and once it melts and it starts to cool, if it has different COEs, it's going to cool at different rates. And when that glass that's laying on top of each other starts to cool at different rates, it's going to crack. You have to have glass that's going to get molten and liquid all at the same time and then cool at the same rate, so that when it cools, it makes a new piece of glass together. All right. If it doesn't and it cools at different rates, one part's going to get cooler faster than the other, and it'll crack and fall apart. So you can't do glass art or glass fusion with just any old glass. You have to make sure it's a matching COE. So I always buy COE 98. So I know that that's all I have. So some of the tools that we're going to use, first and foremost, glasses. You've got to have on glasses if you're cutting glass, because one little piece of glass that pops up and lands in your eyeball is a trip to the hospital, and you could blind yourself. No bueno. Some people use gloves. I've been doing this a long time, and I expect myself to get cut. I will cut myself. It's usually just a little sliver of a cut, no big deal. But when I first started, I used gloves because I didn't really know how to handle the glass. I don't like to use gloves now because I don't have a feel for it. But if you guys were doing this and I was teaching you, I'd have you using some kind of gloves. This is a glass cutter. It's filled with mineral oil, and it has this little end that has a little roly thing on it, and you can see my fingers wet. That's the mineral oil. It gives a lubrication to the glass so that it doesn't crack in a way you don't want it to. Then you're going to use these pliers to kind of pull apart or cut the glass. Not cut it, to break it. You use a Sharpie to mark the lines you want to cut. And if you're cutting something difficult, this is a glass breaker. And of course, a ruler to use to make your straight lines so that you know how to make your lines. So let's cut a few pieces of glass so I can show you how it's done, at least this stage. So I have something underneath here to provide a little protection to my table. First thing off, when you make glass art, you need to learn that this is an organic type of art form. Organic means that there's not any real, you kind of have to go with the flow. You might have an idea that it's natural, I guess is the word definition of organic. There's my crazy dog downstairs. I have a piece that's a little uneven here, so I want to get rid of that. But you might have this really great plan of exactly how you want your design to be. And once it goes in a kiln and it melts, it kind of does its own thing, because it turns into something, see how that broke off? Turns into something liquid, and then it kind of forms back into something on its own again. So you've got to be okay with that. And I've had heartbreaks when I've made glass art where it's like doesn't come out like planned. And then I've had things where like, oh my gosh, that wasn't at all what I had planned, but it's gorgeous. So that's kind of how you have to do with glass art. So first thing I'm gonna do, oops, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing there. Making my lines. So that's about how wide I want my night lights to be. Doesn't matter if it's perfectly straight. Just go with the flow again because it's gonna get heated up in the kiln and it's gonna form a new piece of glass. And when it does that, it's not gonna be perfectly straight. All right, so I'm following my line. You hear that noise? It's making a scratch into the glass, which releases the surface tension of the glass. Once the surface tension of the glass is released, that's where the molecules are like this, they're all locked. When you make that scratch, it releases the hold on those molecules. Once that's released, it will break really easily. Now I get out my glass breakers. Be careful, this is when I usually cut my skin on these edges. Popped off, popped off. There's one big piece. So this is a kiln. It's electric. As you can see, it's plugged in, and currently it's firing. You'll hear some clicky noises like that. And you can see right now, it's 1,311 degrees inside. And if I can get a peek in there, you can see it's glowing red hot in there. So this will fire our glass pieces for multiple hours, probably about 7 or 8 hours all total, and it also has to cool down. But I wanted you guys to see what the kiln looks like. These are kiln shelves and stands that you build the shelf up with so that they stack one on top of each other. But it gets super hot in there, and right now my nightlight is firing. So, wanted to give you a little tour of some fused glass pieces of what basically we're making. So this is Lady Gaga. She's in a drawer right now because I need to do some more work on her. But it starts off, Lady Gaga started off as a clear piece of glass, just like what we just cut. If you look real closely, you can see the clear. And then you layer on top of it cut pieces of colored glass. All right, so you can see here that I've got cut pieces of red, even some iridescent. These are called stringers, so they're long pieces of glass. Okay, so we're back. I have been gathering pieces of glass for you guys to use in your compositions. So this is the blue-green bowl, red, and then I have a purple, a yellow, and then a combination of this mixed colors. But I wanted to show you, well, there's my cut, which inevitably happens. I wanted to show you guys, like this is a piece of what we call spirit glass, which is already a mix of colors. You can see all my little shards of glass over here. This is how I cut myself. But you're wanting, I'm going to cut these into pieces. I wanted to show you guys kind of into triangles because you're wanting to make your piece kind of into like a mosaic, like a quilt, where the pieces fit together as closely as possible. And that happens when they're in geometric shape. So those were triangles. Now I'm going to make some just kind of straight lines. I'm going to show you how this gets cut. And then that's a good little piece from the end. Okay, mistake number one. I don't have on my glasses. They're on my head. Okay, got my glasses on. All right, so I've made little scores in the glass, which are kind of hard to see. I have my glass breaker. Yeah, I broke off the other end first. So there's some pieces that I'm going to put in my multicolor piece. Bam, 1, 2, 3. I'm bleeding all over. There's that. Bam. See how it cuts into my different little triangles? And those are into the different pieces. That's spirit glass. This is beautiful glass. These are scraps that I have left over from a previous project. But when you put your project together, that's exactly what we want. So now what I'm going to do with this piece, like I said, we want geometric pieces, but that's too long. So I'm going to make some nice long cuts. I hope these come out right. So these are like rectangles to use in your composition. I'm probably going to break into the rectangles first. There we go. See how that still has a line there. Turn that over. Bam. That has a line there. Bam. That has a line there. Bam. There's a line there. Bam. This looks easy, but it takes a bit of practice. Like I said, I've been doing this for years, so for me, I'm kind of used to it. Still bleeding. This is a nice yellow. I don't have a ton of yellow because for some reason, yellow glass is more expensive than others. Pink is the most expensive glass to buy. It can cost as much as $90 a sheet of pink. So I don't have a ton of pink. If you find some pink, grab it while you can. And the sheet is a 12-inch by 12-inch, 1 foot. 1 square foot. These are all scrap pieces from all of my projects. So this can go into the yellow bin. Oops, a piece of orange got mixed in. That's how you cut yourself, so you stick your hands in there. See, like this is beautiful, but that's opaque. You don't see light through it. So I'm putting that into my opaque container here. But ooh, look at that. That's again spirit glass. Nice piece of glass. So I'm just going to cut it into pieces that y'all can use that are kind of geometric. When I say geometric, that means they're like squares, rectangles, triangles. This is a thick piece of glass. This is a really nice piece of glass. So I'm having to push pretty hard. All right, so that's good. Now you see all the lines, let's break it up. So a line right there. That's 2 pieces there. See all those big triangles I've made? So I flip it over. Wasn't a great break there, but who cares? We're doing a mosaic. We're just doing like a collage. That'll work. Now this is a piece of glass. If you can tell, look how thick it is. This is 2 pieces of glass I've already fused together, but it's a spare piece of glass, and it's such a beautiful color that I want to use it with you guys because they don't even make this color. So I'm going to make some really deep, let's just do it one at a time because it's really thick. So let's see, it may not even break like I want to. Oh, there it went. So let's do another triangle. Real deep, hard. Another one, scratch it really hard. Flip it over. Grab it as close as I can, bam. grab it as close as I can to scratch. Bam, it's beautiful glass. Put it with the blue. Nice, another piece of blue. Make some triangles. There you go. Bam. That's a beautiful piece of yellow right there. So I want to make some rectangles for you guys to use. I'm just going to do some straight lines, or as straight as I can get them to be right now, because I'm not worried too much about it. Just pricked myself. There's a triangle in the end. And those are too long, so let's do it in half. This is where the fun, like remember I said it's organic? You don't worry about it. Bam, look at all those pieces of chopping meat. All of those you can use in your pieces. It's good yellow. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, you all got the point. So, here we go. I've got my little piece of bottom glass right here. I have a collection of different colors and my toothpick and my glue. And what I'm gonna do is start piecing things together. Let me show you first kind of what our goal is. Now, look at this piece here. Do you see how the pieces fit really close together? That's what we're trying to do. It's got a clear base in the back. And then you've got all of these different geometric shapes that you're putting next to each other. And as much as possible, as close as possible, with none of the clear background showing in between. That's what our goal is, okay? That would make a really pretty nightlight. Now, all of the glass that I have selected for you guys is transparent completely, so the light will pass through it. So here we go. I'm just making this up as I go. A little dab of this glue holds it in place. Notice I'm using a toothpick, just a tiny little bit. If it goes off of your clear glass, no big deal.